Go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:05. So we'll go ahead and move on to roll call. At this time, if the board coordinator could call roll, please. Or, okay, maybe she's not at the computer.
Sorry, I had to get to my mute. My God. I'm here.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I will be having a lesser presence here. Janessa will be sharing the screen today. I'll be booping in and out, just wishing everyone better health than myself. So for roll call, we have President Cano Sanchez.
Present.
Oh, would at this time, when I call your name, would you also provide us with your pronouns so that we can accurately talk during this meeting to each other?
Most definitely. My pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Thank you. Vice President Gonzalez.
Here, my pronouns are he, his, him.
Vice President Rueda. Bree.
Yes.
Bree goes by she, her, hers. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, that's good. They, them also work too.
Vice President Finley.
Present, he, him, his, they, them, theirs.
Officer Cuellar.
Present, she, her, hers.
Officer Smith.
Present, she, her pronouns, please.
Thanks, Gabby. Representative Huang.
Yeah, present, she, her, hers.
Thanks, Lily. Representative Paulette.
Here, she, hers.
Thanks. Representative Gutierrez.
Here, pronouns she, hers.
Thank you. Representative Conga Livingstone.
It said
Sarah.
present, they, them. She texted in the chat, present, they, them pronouns.
Correct. They message in the chat, they, them. Conga Livingstone. Thank you. Representative Weinberg.
Here, he, his, him.
Thanks. Representative Floyd.
Present, he, him.
Representative Amora. Amal. Present. Okay, absent at this time. Representative Angeles.
Oh, present, she, her.
Thank you. Representative Lamar.
Present, he, him.
Thank you. Representative Valdivinos.
And
Thanks. And Powell, your pronouns.
she, her, hers.
Thanks. Officer Caudillo.
Present, she, her, hers.
Thanks. Representative Lemus. Flo, are you in here? Okay, we do have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. And Amal just popped in.
Oh, thank you for noting that. I'll get it marked.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the agenda. At this time, can I get approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
There's a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second from. There's a second to approve the agenda from. Who was that? Because I heard like two voices.
Cano Sanchez.
Okay, Cano Sanchez. There's a motion, the president, and the second to approve the agenda. Is there any objections or abstentions to approving the agenda? I'm looking at the participants list, and I'm not seeing any. So the motion passes. The agenda is approved. Thank you all. So we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes, and this is Amal.
There's a motion from Amal to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second from Lily. Is there any objections or abstentions to the approval of the minutes? Seeing none, and I'm looking at the chat for abstentions. Seeing none, the motion passes. The minutes are approved. Thank you all. So we'll go ahead and move into the chair's report. So welcome to everyone. Hi, Dr. Turnbull. So you saying just hey, y'all. So welcome. Hey. So congratulations to you all. I want to say thank you all for coming out here. But congratulations for making it again to another Friday. It's been a long week, but we made it. For the Zoom meetings, again, just to go over like the meetings of like procedures again. Basically, when you want to raise your hand, like raise your hand on the participants list. And so like you can use that, and then when I ask for like questions, I'll refer to that list and see your hand raised, and I'll go ahead and call on you at that time. If you aren't speaking at that time or speaking during that moment or needed to speak, I would ask like you stay mute, so that way we can just keep the echoes to a minimum, you know. Also too, in regards to voting, when you raise your hand, that indicates you want to abstain. When you say, when you want to say, like when you click yes on the participants list again, that indicates that you are in favor or aye for it. When you indicate no on the participants list, that indicates an A. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it in regards to that. If you need, if of course the parliamentary procedure takes precedent, and if I mess up or if I make a mistake, please feel free to call a point of order. I would appreciate if y'all try to private message me about something, and then I can address it that way. But if not, like, feel free, unmute yourself and call me to order, so that way we can keep business on track. Yeah. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and move over to our regular reports. So this is we'll go ahead and start with President. Oh, sorry actually. We're gonna stop and go to public comment. There's a public comment, I think, from Stephanie Lane.
Yeah. Is it okay to go?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, how's it going, Jeremiah?
It's going good. How about yourself?
Good. It's good to see all your faces. I haven't seen students in such a long time. Thank you for the work that you all do. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Stephanie Lane. I'm the Director of Alumni on campus. So hopefully we should all be lifelong friends as soon as you are all graduating. But I wanted to get in touch with all of you today during public comment about commencement. So part of my other duties as assigned as the Alumni Director is running commencement. I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years, and this is my most favorite day of the year. It's the only day of the year that I wake up at 3:30 a.m. and go to work and have a smile on my face the entire day. So I too am just as heartbroken as everybody else that we can't gather this year. And so I wanted to just report back to you a little bit about the communications out to students and responses that we've had. I know you guys were awesome and threw out a link, just like Kristen and I, the other coordinator, we're trying to put together at the same time. And I am happy to share those results of what the feedback was from students. Many students said, please don't cancel, please have it in person, which we know in our current state, that's just not an option. What we've been able to do is compile all those suggestions, and we made a proposal to the President's office. The President's office is who we get our direction from on commencement. And so we proposed to them lots of different options, one of them being a digital ceremony that we would be able to do on May 16th. They haven't responded to all of our proposals yet, but they have given us the thumbs up to move forward with putting together a digital ceremony. So that's what we are in the works right now, hoping next week to put out some communications to students to start soliciting photos or videos to put together this online commencement ceremony. But I want to keep you guys informed, and I want to put out the offer that if any of you are interested in helping with commencement or have feedback about commencement, that I am your gal. I'm your go-to lady. So I'm the person who answers every single email that comes to grad@humboldt.edu, the commencement email. And then I also just want to give you guys my direct cell phone number and email too that you can keep in contact with, because I know there are lots of feelings about commencement, and you guys have better brains than I do and cooler ideas. I know what resources we have to work with to try to be able to make things happen, but I at least want to make sure that we're all communicating and you have a direct line to an actual human being who can hear you and talk to you and take your feedback. So that is pretty much what I wanted to say. Does anybody have any questions? Can you do questions in public comment?
Not necessarily.
Okay, okay.
But
So
I mean, I guess you did say about your number.
yeah, I was gonna say, do you want me to
just so
put that in
people can-
chat?
Yeah, if you can pop your email and your number in the chat, so
Cool.
students can reach out to you. I think
Yeah. And it does not have to be 8 to 5 hours, Monday through Friday. Text me, call me whenever you want. If I don't answer, it's only because I'm doing something and I'll get right back to you. So please, please, please know that I am open and available all the time. And like I said, we're gonna put out a communication next week. We looked at a bunch of different companies to help with an online commencement ceremony, and the one that we're probably going to be able to go with, who can get it done in time, is one where students will be able to submit photos and videos of themselves and kind of as you walk across the stage. It's all a weird virtual world that we live in, but just so you're all aware, that communication will go out on Monday, but keep me in the loop on anything you have. So I am going to try to make the chat work, and I'll toss up my phone number and my email and then the commencement email.
Thank you. I do want to say, however, thank you, Casey, for this, that the board members may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by a person exercising his or her public testimony rights. So basically we can respond.
Okay.
We just can't necessarily ask questions, I guess.
Sure. So
I think, Cassie, did you have your hand raised? Or we have Brianna?
Yeah, did you say we can respond but not ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna just text Stephanie later on today.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Stephanie, for the work that you do. And thank you for coming here today to make this public comment to us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. And like I said, it fills my heart to see your faces, because staring at my computer screen and all these Zoom meetings, I've seen Ebony 100 times, but all the other faces are a nice, fresh view for me. So love you guys, love the work that you do, and hopefully I'll hear from all of you. Bye.
Bye. So we'll go ahead and keep on with the rest of our meeting. So we'll move into reports. So basically, report, or if there's no more public comment. Okay, then we'll go ahead and keep on moving. So for reports, we'll go ahead and start with the president.
Hello, everyone. Okay. Oh, is my audio working fine? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be reporting on the previous 2 weeks from last that we met. We had a one-on-one, Bree, Daniel, and myself to talk about the funded programs meeting. Since I was the AVP before, they wanted to get that input and be able to get some guidance on that. I want to thank you both for continuing the work in that area, and definitely it's a great area to have conversations about what is happening at the moment and what we can plan together within our funded programs. Second, during the past 2 Board of Finance meetings, we discussed changes with the budget. This is more for the AVP to report on, but since I do sit on these meetings, that was included in there in my board report. I want to go forward with the meeting with the IRA committee that happened in at the beginning of this month. On the 2nd, we were not able to meet quorum, but held informal discussion, and this was beneficial for the committee members to get a look at the recommended amounts. Then this following week, on the 9th, the IRA committee did meet quorum, yay, and the committee looked at the voting that passed unanimously to approve digital voting, and then we digitally voted to have the Lumberjack newspaper request be approved to print and mail out copies of their last edition to students. And so what we had to vote first was to change our guidelines in order to be able to vote virtually, and thankfully Sandy was able to clarify that process, and then Janessa was able to get those 2 Google Docs sent out, so we were able to vote on them, changed our guidelines at that moment, and then had the Lumberjack request be approved. So we also had 3 applicants that unfortunately they weren't able to get their application in, or their application was misplaced at the moment. It was a whole ordeal, but we were able to approve all 3 applicants to be added to the list of funding requests. We took another look at the criteria and guidelines to know how we would be allocating funds. And lastly, we looked at the funding request and ran through a first draft of funding allocations. Second, during the Student Fees Advisory Committee, we discussed the report from the Students Fee Task Force that was made back in 2018. Our ED, Janessa Lund, created a Google form for the committee to fill in to guide the focus and priorities of the committee. the committee decided to have this survey be extended to you all, the AS Board of Directors, to fill out. Therefore, the Board of Directors should look forward to filling in the task force Google form that you will be getting later on next week, not later on, but at the beginning of next week. So you all will have a week to be able to provide your feedback on this report. You all have been presented with this report various times, and if not, it is located in our Google Drive for you all to familiarize yourselves. We will show you where it's at, and hopefully we really want to be able to get all of you guys to input your feedback, so we'd like that the student fees task force committee can decide exactly where our focus is going to be based on that report. Another thing that happened was the Ara Council. And so I'm sure that the VP of Ledge can report more on this, but basic overview is that we were able to connect with SAC. Unfortunately, we did not have an RHA rep, but we were able to get an update on the movements that SAC is leading in order to keep a strong athletic sentiment across all athletics and keep students strong through this time. Lastly, Bria and I just met with the working group to discuss relocation. We looked at the option of locating in the third floor of the UC Center, which comes with a number of barriers, but thankfully Bria and I, stood strong through that, and we felt really supported during this conversation. We will continue to talk about this, and we'll report more on this in the following meeting. And just definitely a shout out to Dr. Turnbull and Dr. Merriweather, who were there during that meeting and were able to provide valuable input and help us out through this conversation. That it's a tough one, but we really thank you both for that. And for the rest, I will be reporting later on in the meeting.
Thank you, Liz. That was an amazing report. I appreciate it a lot. I'm pretty sure many board members did too. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on now to the Ledge VP's report. So for my report, basically, the committee meetings that I met in, I met at the Board of Finance last Thursday. Well, this last Thursday and the Thursday before the last. Basically, we met to discuss the resolution that was passed in regards to the readjustments of our stipends. And then we also began reviewing the fiscal policies. And just kind of setting up how we want to tackle both and laying out the timeline for the rest of the semester. Number two is the executive committee. We met last Friday. We met to review the committee compensation program. And we also listened to a comment from a student that was really just super dedicated. And I appreciate their dedication to this report, to our shared governance process. And I just really want to just stand in solidarity with that student named Indy. Three, the Student Health Advisory Committee, we met the first time post-campus closure, basically to talk about the general updates from all areas regarding student health, and just did like a recap of discussions that we had from before break basically. And then I also met with the Guiding Documents Task Force, where we reviewed the progress made on previous meetings work. And we assessed areas where we each need to support at, and we kind of made a plan to create a resolution to create a parliamentarian. So that's coming out. Goodness, I'm trying to work on that with a couple of board members. Also, too, we created this resolution and act to create a bylaws committee that I'm pretty sure that Will and I will expand on later on in the meeting, but that was submitted as a resolution for today. We also met in the Board of Finance yesterday, and we just continued that work that was assigned from the resolution that was passed and continued to review the fiscal policies. We just set up a plan for the meetings to come. Also, URPC met today, which is really great. URPC, I think this is the first time we're meeting after campus closed down. This is a really in-depth meeting where we got a lot of enrollment. We got the chance to discuss enrollment projections, the HSU budget projections, a plan to engage. We're working on a plan to engage in a meaningful communication and shared governance with campus community regarding our evolving budget situation between now and the end of the semester. Just to kind of see like the implications of what this looks like for all students and all of campus community moving forward. Also too, yeah, Liz touched on it earlier on in her report, basically Ara Council. Me and her, we had the chance to kind of touch base with the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Basically, we also got a chance to get introduced to the new one of the new incoming presidents. Her name was Macy. I forgot what sport she's in, but yeah, so that was pretty great. And we also had a chance to kind of, again, like Liz said, just really see what SAC is doing in that regard and seeing how they're working and seeing where AS can support. Next up is, so that's the end of my report. Thank you all for listening. And so next up is Admin VP.
Hello, everybody. So working from in chronological order, 2 weeks ago, the Board of Finance met, and there we began reviewing fiscal policies as they needed updates, and we continue to work on those. We also created a plan for the reevaluation of the stipend system, like Jeremiah said. And then just this week, we implemented the plan for the stipend reevaluation by asking some officers to come in during the meeting and basically give us their duties and responsibilities so that we can better understand what their position does. So thank you for those who came. And we'll be inviting the rest for next week. We also talked about banking institutions and voted on an official recommendation for you all today. So you'll hear about that later on today. And we also voted to approve the Paycheck Protection Plan loan application, which you will hear about later on today as well. And then later on, we also finished by discussing the fiscal policy review again. That again needs to be more work done. More work needs to be done on it, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. So we'll go ahead and move over to I saw a question, and I want to address it, but later on during our general discussion, we'll address that question. We'll move on to the SAVP.
Hello, everyone. This past 2 weeks I'm adjusting to like virtual classes and everything, but I did get a chance to meet with like the Student Affairs Advisory Committee, and I'll talk about that later on when it's appropriate. But I've been attending a few meetings, like the ones Liz has mentioned, so I won't go over them again. But really just working on getting our funded programs together and ensuring that next year operates as smoothly as possible with everything that we have planned. So me and Daniel have a meeting on Monday with them, as well as creating like a blueprint and a binder for committee compensation package to ensure that next year it runs smoothly and everything goes really well, as also creating like transition documents for our positions, because as you know, we transition out in about a month. So making sure that the next SAVP is set up to succeed. And so that's what I've been working on, nothing else to report.
Thank you, Bree, for that. So we'll go ahead and move over to the ED's report.
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry about that. I've got all this technology going on. So I got some feedback last week to compile like my announcements and stuff. And so I forwarded an email to you all and included this document. And because I have control of the screen, I get to show all you guys. So what I've been doing is like emails come in, like the club's newsletter, I'm just linking it all for you. So this is scheduled to go out Monday morning. But you all have access to look at it anytime. So what I'll do on Monday is I'll create a new box, and then it'll just keep moving down. So like when we're looking at newsletters, articles, campus updates about budgets, task reports, this is like the form and report I'll send to you guys also that you'll fill out. So feel free to share this with anybody as well with information. I've also just, it's kind of like a little heads up, we'll be talking about the budget tonight, and I have kind of a draft recommendation that I'll run by execs on Monday, and then we'll see if it's ready to be presented to you all on next Friday.
Thank you, Janessa. We'll go ahead and move over to any updates from the Dean of Students that they might want to give.
Sure, just briefly. Happy Friday, y'all. So just a couple things I wanted to mention. One, I'm happy Stephanie was able to come on during public comment because it was in couple meetings ago that I think Cassie was the one who mentioned, like, would AS be able to have an opportunity to review some of those inputs from students when the call went out. And I just wanted to say that we had some conversations in other meetings post that, and hence how Stephanie got here today. So I just want to stress that, you know, we really try to be action oriented, we as an administration. So if there's things AS wants to do, always just share them with me, and I would do my best to try to make those happen. So I'm really happy we were able to bring that and get you all involved. I did want to also indicate that the student employment issue that was mentioned on the last AS call was fixed. There was just some what seemed to be miscommunication within a particular department that we were able to clear up. And then for those of you who are wondering in regards to cultural graduations that normally happen, it may not be obviously like a virtual ceremony, but in some way, shape, or form, each of the cultural graduations still will be occurring. So if students ask you all, or if you were curious yourself, or, you know, if it comes out that they will be recognized in some capacity, we are working on what that will look like. And then lastly, I will say is that I personally am just really, really proud of your leadership. I have been in numerous meetings with numerous of you over the last several weeks, and I kind of lightweight feel like we've been able to get more done recently than a lot of what I've been wanting to do collaboratively because we're able to focus on things that matters. And so I just want to say that I really truly feel like the partnership between the Dean of Students area and AS leadership is truly fusing, which is really, really good. And that's how I see this collaborative relationship, and I look forward to it to continuing to grow. And so recently we've been looking at, you know, AS programs and the Dean of Students relationship and how that can be united and strong. And so I'm just really proud of all the work that you all are doing and balancing your work. And I will be here for the remaining of your meeting. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Turnlow, and we appreciate this collaborative relationship that we've been building throughout the year, and I think we all want to continue seeing it expand. So we'll go ahead and now move over to our standing committee reports, starting with the exec committee. Liz?
Did you say Earth Week?
Standing committee report, the executive committee.
Yes, let me go over to that section. All right, so during the last executive meeting, which was the last Friday on the 3rd, we discussed Representative Amora's behavior from our last face-to-face meeting. We also heard from a presentation of the 5-year strategic plan that will be further discussed and hopefully can reach your eyes. And the executives heard from the AS Pro staff about a possible plan for reimagination within our association that should be reaching your eyes soon as well. And we also looked at the committee compensation packet, which is a standing item now within this committee. And we definitely want to make sure that all chairs are being able to report back and forth to Bree and have that accountability piece to be able to serve our students to the best of our ability. That was it for the executive committee.
Thank you so much, Liz, for that. So we'll go ahead and move over to the AS Board of Finance.
Yeah, hey everybody. I guess I already gave it earlier today. So just to recap, we talked about fiscal policies and also the stipend reevaluation. That's it.
Thank you, Daniel. So we're going to move over to the AS Student Affairs Advisory Committee.
Yeah, so we met this actual past Monday, and we were kind of trying to move forward with, again, updating the well-being map that's on like campus, and that's on the campus resources, because again, it's just not up to date. So that's our ongoing project. We were talking about trying to create like a list of places for students that they can go out to in campus for, say, like printing needs and stuff like that, because I don't know about you, but I still need to print stuff and I don't have anywhere to go. So we were kind of looking at like places that people kind of are overlooking, but that students might still need. And so that's kind of like our focus going forward, and we are excited to see where that goes in the next 2 weeks. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Bree. That was amazing work. Sounds like it's happening over there. I don't believe Flo they are here. So we'll go ahead and skip AS Presents, and we'll move over to AS Lobby Corps. Pal? Pal, you're muted.
All right, sorry. I have nothing to report, but I am planning to meet with my lobby members, and we are working on a meeting time. And oh, I had a question. Oh wait, no, just kidding, no question. All right, that's it.
Thank you for that. AS Earth Week Every Week Committee?
Hello. So we met on Friday earlier today at 10:30 to noon, and we do this every Friday on Zoom. We're planning our Earth Week to still happen, but through the internet. So we are almost done with organizing and are definitely going to have our poster ready by Saturday the 18th. And so we will be reaching out to AS to help promote those. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So we'll go ahead and move over to the AS Public Relations Committee.
Hi, everyone. So I have switched the dates and meeting times for our committee to better fit the needs of my current committee members. Now, instead of meeting bi-weekly, we meet every week, but it's only half an hour rather than a full hour. Part of it is just to check in with everybody and to, ask them how they're doing, how they're handling everything, all of the changes. And then the other part is committee members also just like enjoy having things to do throughout the week. So it helps everybody. And the last few weeks we have, I don't know if you've noticed on our Instagram, started a social media campaign called Why You Should Join Aes. And a few members thankfully submitted some videos. And so those have been coming out periodically. A few more will come out next week in time for elections filing to end on Thursday. And then following that will be another social media campaign to get students to input some of their questions that they would like answered by the candidate debates that would be happening in 2.5-ish weeks. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Cassie. We appreciate all the work that you do in those committees. AS funded programs for committee?
I'm gonna start talking. Daniel, I'm so sorry if you were gonna talk. I was just gonna say that we haven't met at all this semester, but we are excited to meet this coming Monday. We're gonna discuss the ongoing situation with the budget and just having that conversation with our funded programs to let them know like what the situation really is, what it is gonna be moving forward, and how we can best serve them still, like even with the decline, because after all, that's what we're here for. As well as talking about like co-locating and what that could look like for all of us. And so that's going to be the conversation on Monday. So we're excited to report back after that happens.
Thank you. Thank you, Bree. We appreciate that. Daniel, did you have anything else to add?
No, and there was a little misunderstanding on my side. I thought that we were going to meet this week. But we were just going to decide when to meet for following on. And I believe we're going to meet on Mondays at what time, Bree? 10 a.m. Okay, yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you so much, both of you, for the work that you do. So we'll go ahead and move over to the priority working groups. Reports, starting with strengthening committees. Bree, you are up again.
Yes, I'm back. We are moving forward. We have allotted money for it in the budget, and so we're going to see what we can do next year and how it's going to look on a different scale. Maybe not as grand as it was this semester, just with the budget and being mindful of that. But we're really excited to still support students and offer them, compensation for their work, because we think it's really valuable. That's all.
Thank you for that. So next we're going ahead and move into the guiding documents update. So this is me. So basically, guiding documents kind of met over the past 2 weeks to kind of reassess and look at what we're doing for the rest of the semester. Initially, at post-campus closure, our first meeting back, we decided to kind of focus on creating some type of succession report to kind of leave off for next year's board to kind of help steer conversations about what like AS as a guiding documents like force should really focus on in order to bring our codes and our constitution up to date. We've also been trying to make plans on how to really get some other things done that are doable for us. And so that's where we created the AS resolution to enact to create a bylaws committee, because we know that we have a need for somebody to be created. So that way that body can kind of focus on doing the same work that guiding documents is doing, just in a more formalized way. Also too, we decided to kind of focus on making some type of position or creating some type of person kind of responsible for making our minutes, for really keeping not the meeting on track, but keeping kind of like the chair on track in regards to parliamentary procedure. So yeah, I think that's it for guiding documents. If I'm missing anything, oh, Cassie, if you want to kind of jump in and talk about the form.
So we had talked about in one of the sections in the report that we are working on to hopefully present, or at least just give to the upcoming new BOD, would be a section that says like what this current BOD like feedback and opinions and comments are on the proposal that Jeremiah gave a few months ago. And that proposal can be found under resolutions in the BOD shared drive if you kind of don't remember what was inside it or anything that he proposed to change. So I created a Google form that will be sent out this coming week asking for your feedback, so that way we can pull some certain quotes and put it into the report that we'll be giving to the BOD, so that way they know what everybody's stance was on it, not just the Guiding Docs Task Force.
Thank you, Cassie. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Guiding Documents Task Force. Guiding Documents Task Force. We'll be meeting again next week. If anybody wants to kind of join those conversations, please reach out to me, so that way we can kind of have more of a robust discussion about some things and kind of get some new insights about what things we should kind of focus on. With that being said, I'll move on to safer spaces.
Yeah, so for the safer spaces, so this week I definitely devoted more time to that. I began to use a lot actually of my office hours to be able to create a drive for us. And so within this drive, I've just kind of put in this document that Representative Amora began after our notes being taken from our first meeting. And so we'll be using that document to convert it and have like our mission statement. We will be definitely thinking of another course of action to take. There's quite a few students that are reaching out to me about Title IX reports, and unfortunately that they feel that they are not being very well served. And so this is something that the task force can definitely begin to focus on. And yeah, once that Google Drive is fully set up, I will be emailing it to the rest of you all and to the rest of the members of the task force, and seeing where you all can continue your work within the task force and continue our efforts to provide safer spaces. That's it.
Thank you, Liz, for that. So next we'll move into the general board reports. If anybody has anything that I see Amal has their hand raised, but I'll go ahead and finish explaining. If anybody has a general board report that they kind of want to report on, like if they're pertaining to their office hours or anything like that, like project that they might be working on, now's the time to kind of raise your hand and we'll call on you so that way you can kind of alert the whole body. With that being said, I'll go ahead and move over to Amal. Amal, you have the floor.
Yeah, College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences Representative Montal and I were talking about writing and drafting a letter which could be delivered to the future/incoming College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences representatives as either a welcome letter or like a letter for tips. We didn't really receive a response yet about whether that could be something that is delivered. However, that is something that Montal and I discussed and think would be a good project office hours for us. And as well as I'm putting the idea on the table for Cassie if she thinks that it's good for publicity, whether we want to make the letters to the candidates for more information or something like that, just as outreach. It's up to the board what they want. But I as of what Montel and I discussed, it seemed like we're both interested in writing up that letter for our incoming representatives.
Thank you, Amal. I know, I'll wait until general discussion. Is there any more board reports? I'm looking for raised hands in the participant section if anybody is wondering. Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and keep moving on to general discussion. So I have not just something to add on to what Amal said. So basically, I know that we all kind of know, believe that Officer Cuellar kind of reached out to us talking about transition letters. And so like, yeah, I would encourage everybody to kind of leave one behind. I know myself, I'm writing one so that way I can leave behind for the next Ledge VP. So that way they know how to like the ins and outs of the positions, like how to really move as the chair and as also an officer. It's so yeah. Any other general discussion? Looking for raised hands in the participant section. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to old business. This is the 2020-21 budget recommendation. So I can kind of lay the groundwork for right now. So basically what right now is someone, regardless of kind of anything, basically a recommendation or an alteration to this budget would need to happen right now, or else I think the board of directors would kind of be more obliged, or more, they would need to create some type of formalized budget basically right now, in order to kind of keep this process going, to get some more input from folks, is what I'm hearing from the funded programs committee. A recommendation will kind of need to be made for this. I know that there were some conversations going on about what this budget looks like. Also, I'll see time and I'll open it up and ask for some questions or some comments or overall recommendations for this item. Okay, I have a raised hand from William.
Yeah, so as it says on the top, it is getting revised down. It hasn't been like fixed for that yet, has it?
I'm sorry, can you clarify your question?
Sorry, it's going to go down from 735,000 to 700,000, most likely from just based on enrollment numbers coming up because of COVID, and it doesn't seem like our recommendation has been changed to reflect that. Of course, that's a this week thing that happened, so I think that we really need to look at that.
And Will, if I can, I completely agree with you that that number did change, I think, this week. And so I think now the board of directors is looking, I think the board of directors is looking to hit that magic number right there, to kind of make sure that we are in, we hold ourselves to this fiduciary responsibility that we have as an organization, to be able to still provide support to our students. Cassie?
So just for clarification, right now you're asking for us to give recommendations on how we should adjust this right now?
That's something that could happen, and I would encourage it. Raise hand, and then it went away. Rada, did you have anything to speak on? Okay, Rada, then Amora.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up that conversation that we were having earlier and ask if this was the appropriate time to bring up those recommendations that we were talking about amongst ourselves, Jeremiah. It's more of like a point of order. I just don't know if I'm allowed to ask you that.
No, this is exactly the time and the space for that.
Okay, I don't have that. I mean, okay, Daniel, I think you.
Vanessa should have it pulled up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know when we spoke, Daniel had spoken about being comfortable doing it. Daniel, if you have any words that you want to throw in there, I can't remember exactly what we went over today, but I think you have the insight.
Yeah. So just to double check, we can make recommendations to the budget at this time. Yes. Okay. All right. So the president, the other vice presidents, and myself were talking just hours ago about the budget and how we can try to meet the goal. And so there's this document on the right side of the screen under recommended. That's what we came up with, the new numbers, so that we can try to reach the goal. So if you look, there's some, like for example, AS Presents or AS Collabs went down from $100,000 to just $5,000. AS Club grants went up a few thousand, as well as AdPick. And if you scroll down, the pool hours, where is it? Yeah, the drop-in recreational swim, the pool hours, we dropped to 0 and instead put the 20,000, I would believe that we recommended for there. We put it towards the Children's Center. So now the Children's Center has $20,000. And this is all recommendation that we're making. If you scroll down, I'm trying to see any big differences. So let's see. Yeah, so that's, if you go all the way down, I believe there's a total of the number that it totals. So it totals to $715,000. So we were not sure if the grand total, the end goal was to reach 735, which I think was talked about last time, or $700,000. So, but that 715 is right in the middle. So that's another starting point we can begin looking at. Jeremiah, Liz, or Bree, if you guys want to chime in on this, or if anyone has a comment on it.
So thank you, Daniel. I see a whole bunch of hands being raised right now. I do want to thank you for making that initial presentation on that item. So I know Amora had their hand raised for a while on this item. So we'll go ahead and go Amora, then we'll go Weinberg, and then we'll go Cano Sanchez. And then we'll go, so we'll wait. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I would say, as I said last time, supporting the Asian Desi Pacific Islander Center is important, especially to fight the racism that comes with COVID-19, the xenophobia, all that. So I think as a cultural center, even though it's not huge, it should be huge, like our other cultural centers. Not only in terms of space, but in terms of activity. I know that they requested a whole lot of money. And so, our recommended is like a little bit lower than we gave them. So I would definitely say that if we can either increase their funding in comparison to other programs or try to give them more of what they ask for, just due to COVID-19 and making sure that the campus stays safe for.
Yeah, thank you, Amal, for that. I'll go ahead and say that, you know, I think a lot of reimagining is going to need to be done in regards to us. So, but I just thank you again for that comment. We'll go ahead and go to Weinberg.
Could we get access to this PDF? Have we already gotten access to it? Because I'm seeing numbers, I'm not seeing how they connect yet. Because I mean, just cursory, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do this as well, just because I like budgets. And I'm getting a lot of the same numbers, but for some reason, my numbers they don't seem, I don't know. It doesn't seem like your numbers add up right now. But I'm sure that'll change as we go on.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused about your question. Is your question that?
Can we get access to this and like to what your recommended budget is outside of just on this screen? Because it's annoying to look at it on a shared screen and not on my own stuff. Oh, Janessa just shared the doc here in chat.
Okay, that's great. So I'll go ahead and move over to Carla Sanchez.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I just wanted to bring attention to the document. If we could scroll down to Scholars Without Borders. So Scholars Without Borders, they had been allocated less than what they from the previous budget, and so what we thought was to allocate 20,000, and it goes down. It goes down to a 744 reduction, and the reason why we did that is because if you take a look at and this is not about any negative sentiment. This is not about pinning any program against any program. It's about the reality that was asked within their budget. And unfortunately, AdPic's requests were for furniture, were for to be able to make their space that was newly allocated have furniture such as that. And so that is why we reduced that budget, because Scholars Without Borders offers services for our dreamers, and those services allow dreamers to be able to get the necessary documents that they need to be able to receive an education. And so that is why we kind of like reduced AdPic in order to be able to give not only to Scholars Without Borders, but to be able to give to the rest of our funded areas, since we do want to take into consideration that there is services that at this point would help our enrollment go up. If we were to expand our services within Scholars Without Borders, we could see that this would probably help our Latinx students show interest once more, a lot more probably within Scholars Without Borders, within Humboldt State, due to services that we provide through these programs such as these.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that comment. So we'll go ahead and move over to Caldio. And then Amora, I noticed that there is a public comment. If a board member would like to see time to that comment, that comment can be had. However, if not, then that comment cannot be heard vocally. We can have it in the chat probably. But yeah. Caldio?
Hi. So I wanted to pay notice to the very top where it's our, I think, general operations, why we decided to keep it a little bit higher than last year's budget. What exactly Gen Ops pays for that they needed a budget so high.
Okay, sorry about that.
I'm not hearing Janessa pop in. I'm not the best person to talk to it, but the increase in the general operations budget was to try and incorporate a timekeeping and payroll system specific to AS. At this point, all of the AS program employees are actually state employees who have their student wages are reimbursed from AS. And so at this point, transitioning those between 50 to 75 student employees back to be under the true umbrella of AS, like they're an AS employee, they get checks twice a month, it would have AS on it instead of Humboldt State. We would need a whole payroll processing system, and that's what most of that increase would be addressing. There are a couple of other increases as well, just from inflation that most budgets have, but that's what that big kind of shock is. At this point, that recommendation was made before a lot of our new circumstances. So I don't feel certain that anyone, as far as general operations or executive, think that we will be transitioning to have a big expensive payroll system and a lot of students technically under the umbrella of AS.
So I can pop in now. I found the document. This is an updated version that we were looking through, trying to see where we could cut back. So Liz and I met and started shaving off different areas. And so for Gen Ops, these are anticipated revenues. Of course, IRA is in the same boat as AS, so this number might be lower coming in. But in a nutshell, this total for 352 is lower than what was originally requested. It's we have, and Casey and Kendra, feel free to jump in to elaborate on any numbers, but we've got telecom, network services, office supplies, student wages. If you, so like for our front desk area and supporting the government, we took out the Kronos payroll system because our current recommendation is not to have HR through AS based on our current financial situation. Capital improvements, I talked to somebody today and they actually recommended, once we get everything set, we reduced it from 6,000. IT has said our equipment in the office is expiring this year and they will not work on it in the future. Somebody I talked to today said, and our original idea was to, okay, maybe they'll give us an extension and do half and half, maybe half this year, half next year. But again, somebody I talked to today said we might be able to get a grant for it through advancement and loyalty funds. So that could possibly be reduced once we get that covered. AS, we're also looking at some printing costs because what we've realized over the past couple of years is expecting you all to constantly go to a Google Drive is sometimes not the most effective way to have information at your fingertips. And so we were leaning towards doing some printing for various groups that we work with. We've got some miscellaneous things. Insurance can't change. That's a pretty set one. These bank charges could be reduced because if we move to Wells Fargo, for example, there would be more efficiencies and fewer transactions. And there's a deal for the CSU campus. Hospitality could be reduced. It's like year-end acknowledgements, name badges, and snacks for students. So we could reduce that. AOA membership, I would strongly recommend keeping this one in there because AOA provides us a lot of, right now they're providing a lot of legal support regarding like the loan, and they're a really good organization that support the entire CSU auxiliary system. This one is one that AS and UC purchased 2 years ago, and I would totally be down for eliminating it. It's good in theory, but it doesn't necessarily meet AS's needs, and so I was going to recommend that we drop that anyway. So certainly there are areas that we could shave off here if you want to recommend some of that. Descriptions are here. So then the final area is our salaries and benefits area and business service agreement. The audit fees are non-negotiable. It's actually a really good deal that we are doing our audits with the university. Otherwise it would be more expensive to do that. So that one will not change. The university is right now with what they're currently providing. This is kind of a non-starter with them. So then that leaves us with salaries and benefits for 3 pro staff in AS.
Thank you, Janessa.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janessa and Casey and Cassie for asking. Cassie for asking those questions. Is there a follow-up to your question? Okay.
So I just wanted, you don't have to answer it now, just so we continue on with the discussion. But I wanted to pose the questions. Why are we going to pay for publications if at the moment And I know you said like all of these were pre this week, where a lot of decisions were made and a lot of announcements were made. In terms of our finances and HSU's finances, but personally, I don't see that it's a priority at the moment. As well, I feel I don't know if you guys have talked about lessening the amount of student assistants that we will be hiring over the summer and over the fall in order to, kind of lessen that blow of our finances as well. And I see a travel section. I'm assuming that might be for conferences and possibly, what does PAL go to? CSSA. And so also talking about like maybe lessening how many we attend just for this year because of how in the whole HSU as a university is. So yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, could I get clarification from Cassie when you said about publications? Which one were you talking about?
I saw a publications section, maybe if you scroll down. Right there, publications.
Okay, so just for fun, I zeroed it out. What was the other recommendation you had?
Possibly lessening the amount of student assistants that you hire over the summer and fall, at least like just by 1, and seeing how that positively or negatively affects us, as well as travel.
Okay, cool. So we had $10,000. So originally it was 12, and then after talking with Elizabeth, we reduced it to 10. What would be a number you would want in there?
I wasn't sure if that was something that you guys had already done. It was just something that I was wondering.
Yeah, no, it went from 12 to 10, but certainly provide, because what we'll do is if you think that having student assistants in the front office is of value, we'll work within whatever number there is. But if it's not a valuable service or not, and I don't mean to, no, that's the wrong way to say it. If it's not essential to next year, then we'll work with that too. Like these are just really tough times, and we'll work with whatever recommendations you have.
This is the first time I'm seeing this document, so I don't think it's, I would not be able to give an adequate number at the moment.
And so I'll just say, thank you, Janessa, and thank you, Cassie, but I'll just say like that, I think that 10,000 is very prudent of both Cano Sanchez and Janessa in creating that, because we want to make sure that we're able to still provide services. And so I just want to thank both of you. We're going to move on to Weinberg. And then Amora.
Okay, so your new recommendation includes more money for OSNAP than they asked for. It includes, let's just start there. Can you explain why you're allocating more than their budget request asked for?
Yeah. Liz, did you want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, sorry, my audio keeps on going like off a little bit, and sometimes, so William, I wasn't able to hear yours exactly. Can you repeat it, please?
OSNAP asked for 10,000 again, as they did the year before, and now they're getting 13,000. What is the reasoning for that outside of them just like, because they didn't ask for that 13,000, they asked for 10.
Most definitely. So the reason why we felt that like that would be a great area to help them in is because based on the information that we got from them from the grant that they were allocated, it would not fully go to them, and what would go to them would be used to be able to include fridges inside their area to be able to have fresher food options. And so we felt that with the we had the strong sentiment that with COVID upon us and with a lot of students needing so many services, we are going to be in need of basic needs even more now than probably ever. And we want to be able to be ready for those instances, to be able to provide more food cans for students, to be able to provide more less fresh options, but that the students are able to go into OSNAP and be able to have these options there for them. And with this situation that nobody foresaw, nobody thought that was going to happen, it happened, and we want to be able to be prepared for the future as well, and support OSNAP with extra 3,000.
So same question for the club grants, because that went up 12. You funded them for their whole budget request, and that's the only other place in your new budget where it's over the amount, I believe, than what was asked for at least 2 years ago or last season, I guess.
So thank you, Will, for that question. I can kind of help kind of Sanchez if you want to. So basically, so I want to provide some clarification on who actually makes this budget. So for AS Club grants, that is AS who submits that budget. AS recognized the fact that 25,000 was not enough for these students, and so with that in mind, the president put together a stronger recommendation for us to move forward with, so that way we are able to provide clubs with that support moving forward. Understandably, we are in a difficult situation. Again, I think this kind of goes back to the point we're saying is we need to recognize places that we can do without, or can, maybe not do without, but that places that can serve students better. And this is one of the places that can serve students better. As we move forward, you know, as a campus, I think clubs are going to play a monumental role in the way that we function as an organization. And so with that in mind, that is where that 36,000 came from. And that is, I believe that is why we are recommending that we keep continuing to fund this fully.
Okay, I guess I'll stop hogging. One more question. It's ERC and MCC both got funded for the full amount that they asked for in 2019 and 2020, whereas CCAT got a huge hit to their budget, even after asking for less money, like being one of the only programs this cycle that understood that we were in a budget situation and were in need of some alleviation. They asked for, 2,000 less, but still they did that. And they're still, I think that they have been the most forthcoming, transparent, and willing to work with us on this. And they are being penalized in a way that seems unfair, as opposed to these other groups. I don't understand why we're starting to say, oh, this very big thing on campus is no longer important, as opposed to these other things. I think CCAT should not be getting hurt as much as it is. We asked for 61,000 in 2019. It asked for 59,000 in 2020, and it's going to only be getting 40,000. I don't see that as being a fair choice.
I believe Colonel Sanchez want to respond first, and then we can go over to Lund, and then we can, if everything's okay with that.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to be known that that this is probably something that did not catch our radar at all. And all the points that you made are definitely correct. When making these budgets, you being one of the former BOF members, it's really difficult to detect these items such as this. So we are definitely this is a time for everyone to recommend any amount, not just to share sentiment. And I want to definitely say that I share the same sentiment as you. Being that we are doing a lot, I did not catch this, but I would definitely urge you to make another recommendation to help out CCAT, because CCAT does do a lot for us, and they have been very transparent. They have been helping us so much. And so I would say to look into the MCC budget to reduce a little bit from there, and for you to make a recommendation for CCAT.
Thank you, Colonel Sanchez, for that. We'll go ahead and move over to Lund.
Okay, so late breaking news. I had a phone conversation with Justin today. Justin's one of the 3 CCAT co-directors. And Justin and Amanda McDonald, who is the director of RAP, those two have been working very closely together these past week and a half or so. And they're actually coming up with a strategy and plan about how those two organizations can work closer together next year and potentially reorg themselves. And so they'll definitely see this, but they're definitely being proactive on their end. And so I wouldn't worry too much about CCAT right now, but you could definitely modify numbers if you want. But be thinking that CCAT and RAP are looking to team up next year.
Thank you, Colonel Sanchez, and thank you, Lund, for responding to that question. So next, we'll go ahead and move on to Amora, then we'll go to Quayar.
As executive VP, I think that's your position. Len said about CCAT and another organizations combining. I was actually going to suggest that, but to be clear, what I was trying to say is that I think it's important for us to list a couple priorities as in preferential, like what are most essential to our campus, and then focus on that. As well as that, I would suggest, and Jenna said, said like organizations are already doing that, like I would suggest that services combine with a joint funding and asking cultural centers to share spaces. And I'm not saying that this can be a direct ask, but I think that would be a really possible suggestion. And just as we're reimagining space on campus, I really think that reimagining these centers and how they're all independent can really help our students, because it would be cool if I can go into one building and all the cultural centers are in there and it's just like a joint place, that kind of unity rather than like a lot of independent places all over campus.
Thank you for that, Amora. I'll go ahead and move over to Koyar.
Jeremiah, can I yield my time to Kimberly?
Yes, you may. At this, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just wanted to speak on behalf of Student Legal Lounge. So Student Legal Lounge provides a resource to navigate a system that affects people from all groups. And so we have helped this term alone. We've helped students with legal grievances, with marriage, child custody, name changes, domestic violence, Title IX issues, ADA issues, DUI issues. We've helped so many different students this year, and it's all inclusive, because the legal system affects all groups. So we were, I think on the sheet it shows that we were allocated the same as this last term, and we've had to do a lot to really work with that budget this term, even to employ 4 essential employees that keep the lounge running. And legal research itself takes hours and hours on end. So we just think that the Student Legal Lounge, definitely, we asked for $15,000, almost $15,000. It was like $14,900 and like $964. And that was asking for basically the minimum to employ 4 students to keep the lounge running. And we have helped, just a ton of students this term, and students have known like the lounge for being a resource that connects them to all of the other resources on campus and cultural centers on campus.
Thank you, Kimberly, for coming and speaking with us. Really appreciate your comments. This whole process is really tough for all of us to try to figure out together. I understand that for most of us, this is our first time going through this process, and it's really disheartening to see a lot of the things that we see on these spreadsheets because we don't get to see the humanistic side of all of this. But ultimately, though, we need to realize that we're going into this year with less. And so with less, how do we do more? Or how do we continue to do the same things that we're doing in different ways? And so understand that this 715, this 715 number that came out of is being recommended right now. We went into this conversation with not basing this off of the request itself. Yes, we looked at the numbers and we looked at the request, but also we understood that, well, you functioned really great like this before. And so how can you do that again? Or if you need to seek support elsewhere. And so that's kind of like this conversation, these numbers kind of came out of. And so it's like with this in mind we talk about these different programs and things like that, but how do we walk out of this where I don't think a world lives where a program like CCAT is not scathed. So I got a comment in the chat. At this point, I suggest you go through each line and adjust if necessary based on input. So we can go through here and adjust. At this time, there is a comment request from Juan. So at this time, I'll go ahead and yield my time as chair to the public.
Cool. Yeah, just a couple of questions. I know you guys are dealing with like a very constrained budget, but just kind of understand what went into this. So I noticed that the AS general operations budget went up. So I might have missed this. So I kind of like want to know why. And then in addition to why the drop-in recreation swim program was down to 0, because I know that they employ people. So I want to know like what will happen to them if they don't receive that funding.
Thank you for that comment and for that question. You know, yeah. So in regards to the Gen Ops increasing, I think early on it was kind of in relation to making sure that again we could provide that payroll service, but then those conversations died out, and that's not necessarily the goal anymore. However, honestly, Gen Ops is not functioning at full capacity as it should be, just because of the funding that we're offering it right now. Because normally what would happen is we would have full AS employees in all of our programs and all of our things like that, but that's not necessarily the case anymore, just because we cannot offer that those services based upon the budget that we have. We could potentially, the board can do whatever it please to do, of course, but it would significantly hurt a lot of other programs, and we're right now trying to figure out how to support these other programs. And so I think Gen Ops right now is really functioning as like bare bones in regards to that. And I think also too, if you look in a lot of other ASs and a lot of other ASs budgets, like honestly, Gen Ops is way more than it's always more, just because they are the ones who kind of make sure that we have everything put together. They're like our central program in essence. In regards to the recreation and drops, so this is the conversation that we had during those previous conversations, we had to figure out what we were going to do in regards to the children's center, in regards to people swimming. And so for those, that's where this came from. And so it was mentioned by, and Elizabeth, jump in if you want to. It was mentioned by Elizabeth, basically, do we want to have people swimming, or do we want to provide childcare services for our students to be able to have, you know? And these are the type of conversations that we have to have in order to provide something better. Yeah. So with that being said, I'll kind of move on Is there any recommendations to this recommended item? Claudio? Or I saw Claudio's hand wave, and then I saw Weinberg's participant hand up.
Sorry, my participant list, I cannot find where it is. I hid it somewhere on my screen. So I am not a voting member, so like this is, I don't know how I would present this.
Recommended.
Recommended, okay. So my recommendations, can I do like a bulk, or do I do one by one?
Honestly, you could do a bulk, or you could do one by one. But I would recommend, you feel what is best.
Okay, so I guess I'll do bulk, and then if it doesn't pass, or someone doesn't want a motion to pass it, maybe I'll type it in the chat as well, so that way people can see what I recommended and see if like one of them is something that someone wants to, motion to recommend. Good, okay. So for AS Clip grants, I recommend to lower their fund to $33,000. For OSNAP, I recommend to lower it to $12,000. For RAP, I recommend to lower it to $36,000. For the MCC, I recommend to lower it to $41,000.
Hey, can you, Cassie, can you slow down just a little bit?
I'm gonna type them in. That's
okay.
why.
Okay, but Janessa's putting them in, and so like she kind of needs that time to kind of put the numbers in.
I wasn't looking. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you.
So AS Club grants $33,000. OSNAP $12,000. RAP $36,000, MCC, $41,000, and the ERC, $18,000. And then I will type them in here as well.
Jeremiah, you're muted. I don't know if you know that.
Okay, let's see if I can figure that out again. Okay, should we, this is a question of process. Casey, should we vote on this recommendation right now as off of Caldea's recommendation? Or should we have the full conversations, because other people have their hands raised about, I'm pretty sure pertaining to the budget and pertaining to their specific recommendations to it. So how should we go about doing this?
Someone could choose to actually motion Officer Caudillo's recommendation and then have that go through a first and a second, and then go through discussion, and then friendly amendments could be made within that motion.
Okay.
Or this motion could be voted on in its totality, and then depending on how that vote takes, moving forward from there.
Okay, thank you so much, Casey. So we'll go ahead and I'll ask for a motion to approve this recommended budget.
Sorry, I was suggesting, I believe there still needs to be an official first and an official second on this, as Officer Caudillo's a appointed member.
Yeah, that's why I asked for a motion.
I motion to accept Caudillo's recommendation to revise the budget. Does that work?
Yeah, I think it works. You got it. There's a motion on the floor to accept Caudillo's to accept Caudillo's recommended budget. Is there any is there a second?
Second.
Who?
Lily.
Okay, we're gonna say Lily seconds. Or yeah, yeah. And then we'll go, we'll say that, is there any discussion on this item?
Yes.
Okay, let's go Weinberg, Amora, then Cano Sanchez.
I would like to offer a friendly amendment. Oh, I guess it's my own motion, so I don't have to do that? Oh, shoot. I would like to amend the motion to include taking the 33,000, or not the 33,000, taking the 3,000 of the 33,000 from AS Club grants, dropping it to 30,000, and giving that to CCAT.
Motion's been amended. Is there any more discussion?
Does Graduate Representative Huang understand and agree with the friendly amendment as the seconder?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over to Cano Sanchez.
I would like to add a friendly amendment of having the MCCs drop down to 40,000 and have those funds be allocated on top of the funds that had already been dropped down. So that should be a total of 2,752 to be allocated to the Student Legal Lounge.
Is that motion, is that friendly amendment accepted by the main motioners?
Sorry, one sec, Janessa. It was supposed to go up, not down.
I was just testing you, Will. So Thank you for paying attention. I lost track when, what number do you want in the box for Legal Lounge?
Let me calculate that right now for you. The current number that we, I calculated the wrong one. Apologies. 7,518.
Perfect.
Hey,
And Will, what was the one that you had mentioned?
so you took more away from CCAT? You were supposed
No,
to.
no, the MCC.
Oh no, right, that was hers. I think she got that one, but yeah, you.
So I went the wrong direction.
Right, and I accept President Cano Sanchez's friendly amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Will.
Lily, do you accept this friendly amendment? Lily?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I did muted.
No worries. Thank you so much.
You're fine.
Let's go ahead over to Amora.
I wanted to pull $1,500 from OSNAP and put it in Scholars Without Borders. The reason for that, I think that their grant program is cool, and if we add more money, it's not that bad. So it would just leave that instead of giving $3,000 in addition to what OSNAP requested, we just like give them $1,500 instead.
Okay. So is this friendly amendment accepted by the main motioners?
Sorry, I have to watch what's about to happen to understand it. Yeah, sure.
Amal, is that your intent? Is OSNAP reduced 1,500 and then Scholars increased 1,500?
Don't approve it yet. I still need a moment.
I was going off of what the other doc said, where it's OSNAP got 13,000. Is that doc you're working on the current one?
Yeah, so this one here is what you guys are going to recommend tonight. And then all of your applicants will have a chance to look at it and appeal it next week, next Friday. The running total is right here. So everything in here totals 703. Your target is 700.
You know, I had a question. I thought we were just at 695. Well, I think some stuff got messed up.
Oh, that was my bad because
okay, because I almost got happy. I was like, oh.
I went the wrong direction with CCAT, so that's why it dropped so much. So Will help me correct that.
Thank you so much.
And Amal, for the pantry, at some point somebody had reduced it. So
yeah, it was no longer 1,300 because Caldillo had recommended that it move down to 1,200.
Right. Thank you.
Or not to 1,200. Goodness gracious, it's 12,000.
Okay, I withdraw the amendment.
Okay, so so you withdraw the amendment, so it goes back to 20,000, and then it will go back to 12,000.
Oh no. I thought 10,500 was before what I amended. If it's 12,000, then I would want 1,500 still taken away. I thought it was just 10,500 originally. Thank you.
Okay, so there's an amendment to change this motion to 10,500 for OSNAP and 21,000 for Scholars Without Borders. There's also an LOL. William, Lily, do you accept this amendment?
Excuse me?
do you accept this amendment to your motion?
Yes.
William, do you accept this motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Connor Sanchez has her hand raised.
Yeah, so I was wondering, does that amendment include adding it to Scholars Without Borders?
That's the whole point. We're taking from OSNAP partially and putting it in Scholars Without Borders.
There we go.
For sure, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just a little bit concerned. Can I say something?
Yes.
Like how much money Women Resource Center they're getting cut by. And I was wondering like if there's going to be an issue if you cut $1,000 from Marching Lumberjacks just because they're asking a little bit, and if that's the reason why y'all funded them fully.
So Paul, I can answer this question if you want.
Yeah.
So Marching Lumberjacks has been a proud AS kind of funded department for basically since its creation. And so like also to Marching Lumberjacks, they give so much to our community, and like honestly they're a staple to our campus, And so as a student government, I think it's super important to make sure that we continue this relationship that we have with them. And so going into this discussion, we understood that Marching Lumberjacks really are kind of the model kind of program or department. And so we want to make sure that we just continue to support them in any ways that we can. Also too, I know that some of their funding streams are going to be cut off or potentially being cut off just because of the nature of their program. And so like that's where this number kind of came from. And just really just keeping it continuous throughout the years and supporting them in any way that we can.
Okay. And then within that is just, I guess like the logic that we're using on like what our needs for next year too, and like how can we help all those needs at the same time. And that's just what I'm worried about. Like
I get what you're saying, like the actual needs, like and the needs in regards to funding, like the actual resources that they provide, like these products that the Women's Resources creates, right?
yeah, I guess just looking at it that way too, and it's just a little concern, but
So what's the number that feels comfortable to you?
I just don't want to, like, we have zero money to allocate now, and I'm just concerned on like who I want to take it away from.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, does anyone have like a recommendation on taking at least 1,000 from one program?
Yeah, I would.
So we're gonna go ahead and go. Amora, your hand has been raised for quite a while. I don't know if you've left it up there because you just forgot to take it off. But I saw that Connor Sanchez raised her hand, and then so did Gonzalez. So we'll go Connor Sanchez, Gonzalez, and Amora.
So I'd like to provide a friendly amendment to take $1,000 from our youth educational services to be allocated to the Women's Resource Center.
Sure.
It was green lighted by Will. Is there does the co-motioner agree to this amendment? Lily?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. There's a yes. Mm-hmm. So that's amended.
Yeah.
Gonzalez, I don't know if you had any more to add.
I did, but I was just going to suggest that we do not, I feel strongly that we should not take away from the Marching Lumberjacks.
Yeah, that's why, can I say something? Just like, I wanted to have like, I guess, the Board of Finance recommendation on like one, because since it was mostly discussions like during those meetings on why certain programs got something, and I just didn't want to like, I just wanted y'all's recommendation on like which other program was the other one that like y'all felt was like getting more than, I don't know. It's just like it's money in need for all these programs, so it's it's just really bumming out that like, we have 0 to allocate compared to other years. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough situation that we find ourselves in, and honestly, I think I don't want to place blame on anywhere, because I think blaming is easy, but leading is really hard and difficult for everyone to do. However, I think past boards sometimes were neglectful in how they put together their budgets, and so that leaves us now with the scraps and how to really figure out creative ways on how to solve this issue, which I'm super proud of, honestly, all of y'all, and trying to figure this out together is really important. With that being said, I did budget time for us to end at 6:40, and I would appreciate a motion to approve, or if there's no more discussion on this item, there's a first and a second to approve this recommended draft budget, and then open it up for appeals. So I'll go ahead and call, if there's no more discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of this motion, say aye, or no, raise your, say aye and indicate aye in the chat, please.
Aye.
No. Like, you just indicate it in the chat. Wait, what am I doing? Is there any objections or abstentions to this motion passing? Seeing none, the motion passes. The Board of Directors recommended, or the Board of Directors draft recommended budget for 1020 is approved. And next week we will offer time for appeals to happen. Thank you all so much. Okay, so next up is what is next up? I need to unzoom this. Resolution to eliminate Humboldt State University plastic. This was a resolution that was co-authored by the Representative Congo Livingstone and Officer Smith. So at this time, I'll go ahead and cede time to them.
Yes, do you want us to read through it, or?
Yes, it is in its first reading. So since it is in its first reading, it does need a first reading to happen on it.
Okay, well, I will go ahead and read it. That's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Subject is resolution to eliminate Humboldt State University's purchase and consumption of single-use disposable plastic products. Whereas the Associated Students Board of Directors of Humboldt State University is a single recognized voice for over 6,500 students, and whereas the Statement of Associated Students of Humboldt State University serves to assist in the protection of rights and interests in the individual student and the student body, and to stimulate an educational, social, physical, and cultural well-being in the university community, and whereas the educational, social, physical, cultural well-being of the future of the student, sorry, I just read that line. Oh, never mind. Feature of the student bodies required a reduction in the use and harm of fossil fuel production via disposable plastics, and whereas synthetic polymers used to create plastics are a byproduct of petroleum, the use of fossil fuels is unsustainable and would not benefit HSU in long term due to the increased carbon emissions during the production. HSU's 2016 Climate Action Plan outlines a strategy for reducing emission purchases, food, specifically convene zero waste purchase groups, and those who work to minimize packaging waste of purchases across all state and non-state entities at HSU. And whereas HSU has effectively passed a policy as of 2018, or CSUs, sorry, which eliminates the use of single-use plastic straws, single-use plastic carryout bags, single-use polystyrene food service items, to thus replace single-use plastic items with usable, locally compostable, and or recycling tools. And whereas HSU must begin to think and act on what it looks like to disengage with plastic consumption due to a plethora of environmental and social destruction, such as the Pacific garbage patch, fish and bird consumptions and their inability to digest plastics, plastic littering beaches and communities in the global south, the negative health impacts among community members where plastics are produced. Single-use plastics increases landfills, causes toxic runoff, thus polluting water and environments, which ultimately negatively affect wildlife habitats. Therefore, HSU's leadership in banning the single-use plastic consumption would mitigate negative impacts of the intersection of social, economic, environmental systems. And whereas HSU has complied with these standards by eliminating single-use plastic water bottles, plastic straws, plastic carryout bags, and polystyrene food service items. There are areas where dining services has succeeded in providing compostable to-go dishware at dining locations. However, campus events, dining locations, and fundraising snack tables continue to distribute single-use plastic and styrofoam, as well as polylactic acid, bioplastic, compostable silverware provided by dining services, which are not compostable on a local level. And whereas recycling materials is merely an elongated path into landfills, and therefore we must realize that compostable products are the only known method of practicing a renewable waste system that gives back to the earth rather than trashes. And whereas numerous programs on campus, such as, and not limited to, Earth Week Every Week Committee, Humboldt's Advisory Committee on Sustainability, Humboldt's Environmental Independence Fund, Waste Reduction and Resource Program Awareness, Waste Reduction and Resource Awareness Program, Campus Center for Appropriate Technology, and the Office of Sustainability have facilitated actions of climate resilience and represent themselves as leaders of transformative justice. The AES programs known as RAP and CCAT, who are dedicated to sustainability, would be advised to help associated students ensure regulation of this resolution in conjunction with executive and administrative offices to ensure eliminating of single-use plastics in all regard. Therefore, be it resolved. Dining services must stop distributing bioplastic compostable silverware. In addition, encompassing all campus events, including but not limiting to student events, concerts, campus speakers and hosts, conferences, committees. Therefore, the supplies, such as food and props, purchased for these events must serve in the interest of intergenerational and interspecial values, which rely on the halt of disposable plastic product production and consumption. And resolved, dining services must sell reusable utensils in dining locations. We recommend investing in a reusable utensil rental program similar to Aussie, which are reusable containers, and sell reusable water bottles that can be used for hot and cold products in all dining locations. And resolved, that the transformation towards the purchase and sale of bulk foods be promoted, and thus would be appropriate to provide free sustainable paper or cloth bags for students who are not able to buy reusable. This would change the culture of campus, getting students used to taking their own containers around and reusing them. Resolved, HSU must ban the use of confetti and helium balloons at commencement ceremonies, and clubs and organizations such as CCAT can provide sustainable alternatives and will offer workshops on making biodegradable confetti for graduation. Whereas, we demand that HSU bans the sale of all plastic bottled beverages all around campus for a start. Realistically, this is how we can slowly decrease our consumption of plastic. Eventually, the sale of all plastic wrapped foods on campus will be banned in stages. Resolved, that the purchase of dining products be monitored and thus minimized to eliminating plastic and polystyrene shipping and packaging materials. Further, we ask campus purchases entail with all entities affiliated themselves with, in, and off campus to work within vendors to ensure these materials, such as plastic, bubble wrap, styrofoam, are not included in boxing and packaging of our best efforts. And resolved, that copies of this resolution be sent to, but not limited to, associated student-funded programs, the University Center Executive Director Dave Newcrum, the University Center Board of Directors, Housing and Dining Services, the Humboldt State University Senate, and the Office of Humboldt State University's President Tom Jackson Jr., as well as Humboldt State's vice presidents and officers thereof.
Thank you, Gabrielle, for that and for that reading of the first reading of the resolution. As our resolution process states, basically, the resolution, it goes through its first reading. Then after its first reading, it is then automatically tabled until the next to our next meeting. During this time, questions or discussions could be had to kind of amend or edit this, and then that resolution would then come back for next meeting for our second reading, and those and then you would be able to actually take action on this item, as it was not submitted with the waiver. So with that being said, I'll ask, Sarah is back. I don't know if Sarah has anything else to add, but I'll ask Gabrielle if she wants to open this up to discussion.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. If Sarah has nothing else to add, I am very open for friendly amendments.
So is there any discussion? Nothing else to add from Sarah? With that being said, I see 3 hands raised. William, we'll go Weinberg, Caldillo, and then Amora.
So this is kind of the problem with most of the resolved. We should not, I don't think we can, like, we can't tell dining services what to do. We don't have any power over them. So saying must is not right. We can recommend things when they're not within our scope, but we are using must a lot, which can be seen as aggressive, honestly, and that's gonna put people off. I think we have to work within our scope. We have to not make those kinds of, I don't want to say egregious, but I am, kind of, they seem like veiled threats at that point to me, which I like this, but I don't think that that needs to be changed. We need to be recommending things to these other groups. We can't tell them what to do.
Thank you, Weinberg, for that comment. So we'll go ahead and keep on moving on to Caldillo.
Excuse me, this is Maggie Gaynor. I just wanted to,
hello?
yes, I've just joined your meeting.
So who are you? I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, I was invited to listen in. I'm from Zero Waste Humboldt. And,
okay, so there is time for public comment. We can definitely fit you in after.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew I was here.
Well, thank you for alerting me to your presence. That is appreciative. So we'll go ahead and move on to keep going to Caldillo, then to Amora. Then I'll see some time as the chair to Maggie Gaynor and allow them to speak.
So I just wanted to ask, and if the answer to my question is no, then recommend that the 2 co-authors of this resolution reach out to dining services and ask them how much this would cost, if it would be more or less, as we all are very, very well aware of our financial state, not only as Aes, but as a university and being a part of the CSU system as well. We are all in very big deficits at the moment. And so I support this, but I don't know if right now is the time to pass this.
Thank you, Caldillo, for that. So we'll go ahead and move over to Amora.
Yeah, I really love this resolution. I do agree with William about changing the word must. Also, I did talk to Executive VP Lund and about how a couple years ago, the community colleges and universities all over California, kind of all over California and the nation had the ban on plastic campaign. And I was part of that in my community college when I was serving as a senator there. And so she suggested I do some like outside research. And so I don't have much, but what I found was that Duke University banned styrofoam cups and bleached paper because it's hard to recycle. It's not sustainable, as well as that Boston, Massachusetts uses upcycled plastic bags. And examples like the Chico bag, which y'all can search up, but they're like plastic bags that are reusable. And so I wanted to like open up that door of like whether we want to add more options like upcycled plastic bags. I mean, I'm not the science major, so I don't know how well it is, but it is something that Boston, Massachusetts is doing, as well as that recycled aluminum is in cans. So canned products can be recycled better than plastic. And so like, again, opening up more language if possible. And then lastly, I'd say is curbing aluminum foil, because apparently aluminum foil, when food waste gets upon it, it's hard to recycle. So just like, that's like external research in support of the resolution.
Thank you for that, Amora. At this time, I'll go ahead and ask, turn to the public and ask Maggie Gaynor to speak if they would like to.
Yeah, thank you. That's really nice of you. I was unable to join when you started your meeting, and I haven't read the whole resolution here. Just a couple of thoughts, and you may have already discussed this thoroughly, and then just some questions. I worked on campus for 12 years, and my understanding is that dining, what's it called, dining and dining services, what is there? What's the name of that business?
Pretty sure.
Jolly Giant.
So they have different places on campus. Are you talking about J Dining?
Yeah, my thinking was just to ask about, somehow there's a contract and everything is based on that contract. And for them to, I think they're a nonprofit corporation to provide services. It's not.
Oh, you're talking about the University Center, and it was mentioned in the chat.
Okay, so so this resolution is to a university unit.
So this resolution isn't so this resolution is a resolution that is basically requesting that different that the different departments of a different nonprofit do something, is ultimately what this resolution is asking for.
Okay. And I will read it more thoroughly, but anyway, I've just learned in the community over and over again that if you're really familiar with what their contract is and what it says, you can better address how to get them to change and do what you want them to do. And then the other thing that I've learned is when we have made, gone about a very similar process in the community with small local municipalities and local governments, our approach has been, we understand that, this is the status of where things are right now. This is where the community wants it to go to, and this is what we want changed. But we won't leave you all alone. It's not just your responsibility, it's everybody in the campus. And so it kind of helps them to understand that ASB and the student population will be helping, will make this change happen, and that you're not just dumping the responsibility 100% on them. So I really don't know what kind of communications you've had regularly with them to show them that there's this cooperative spirit, but that's just been our experience repeatedly. And then I was just starting to take some notes here when you turned it over to me. I had a couple of questions.
So if I'm going ahead and jump in. If the questions, thank you so much. And I would really appreciate if you could maybe address the questions specifically to the authors, or you can kind of ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you two can connect afterwards, because this is its first reading. Nothing's being decided on it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Also too, like a lot of things were kind of mentioned in the chat where I don't know if everybody was paying attention, but honestly, like HSU, well, the dining services and AS kind of have a really strong partnership in regards to addressing things environmentally. AS is also super committed to social justice and environmental sustainability. And so like we are super focused on making sure that our program, well, that our impact on this community is green. I think for me, I kind of want to just ask some questions, not ask some questions, but just as we transition to kind of keep in mind those who go to commencement. Let's keep in mind those families who come out when commencement is actually on. Let's keep in mind the fact that, you know, people want to celebrate and bring balloons and things like that. So with that moving forward, I'll go ahead and transition because we are kind of out of time.
Sure.
I scheduled us to end around 6:55. We're at 7:01.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabrielle, and thank you, Sarah, for giving that presentation. Bree, I know you had your hand raised, but I'm going ahead and keep moving because I want to keep us moving business. So next up is our Payment Protection Program loan application. So basically this loan application was, or it had been submitted by our ED, Executive Director, Janessa Lund, who is kind of spearheading this, making sure that AS payroll is be taken care of. Janessa, if you wanted to go ahead and add and explain a little bit.
So just briefly, this is part of, you guys have probably heard in the news, CARES. It's the federal version of kind of like bailing out small businesses right now. And so what they're doing is offering a loan to cover 2.5 months of payroll. It's if it's used for that, it's likely to be converted into a grant. If it's not used for that, it's it would continue at a loan of like 1%. The application is for $84,000. And if it's not used this semester, which is unlikely it would be because the Category 2 student fees are not currently on the table to be refunded. So AS's current funding is as planned. However, the fall, as you all know, is very unknown. So it might be beneficial to have a little extra cushion in the fall, just in case, who knows what happens. But it seems like a really good deal for a small fee.
And thank you, Janessa. Also too, I know the interest rate on it was super low on this loan. So it's really low risk, but like I guess high reward. And making sure that we can still provide our students with the payroll if things kind of go belly up for us, or not belly up, but things just don't turn out really fortunate for us in the coming months. I know Board of Finance kind of talked us over. I don't know if Daniel wants to add anything to end this piece.
No, I think Janessa kind of said the bulk of it. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you so much, Daniel and Janessa. So this is an action item. Basically, the action that would have to come out of this item, or the action that could potentially come out of this item, would be an action to approve the payment protection program loan application. And this basically what that would do is basically say, okay, we like this, we want this to happen, and we are giving the executive director the ability to kind of keep moving forward with this process. That's potentially one action that could come out of it. If anybody else has any other questions on it, Amora?
Yeah, my question is, if we were to take $84,000 from CARES, how would it affect other small businesses? Because my fear is that a business could close down because they're not well funded, because we're taking away money that could go to somewhere or many different places.
Yeah, thank you for that question. We're a business. I think sometimes you forget that. This is a corporation, and so we have to figure out, as we just went through our budget, there was a lot of, that's why we allocate money out like that. And so, what we're doing, I think, both with this is just making sure that the people who count on us and count on AS are able to be supported in that way. I think the Board of Finance also, to just add on with piece of information, the Board of Finance unanimously approved of this to keep going, to keep moving forward. And so like this comes not to the table lightly, this comes over some conversation. And so like we want to make sure that we're stepping into this with the right foot forward. But thank you all so much for your question. Is there any more discussion? Carlos Sanchez, was that a raised hand? Okay. Okay, with that being said, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to be made on this item. It could be a motion to approve. Or...
I motion to approve this item to have the payment protection program loan application go through.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second from Floyd.
Second from Floyd. Motion from Carlos Sanchez. Second from Floyd to have the payment protection program loan application go through. Is there any objections or abstentions to this application being approved? Is that an objection at all?
No.
Okay. One objection from Maura. The resolution, the motion passes. The payment protection program loan application in the amount of $84,000 is approved. Thank you all so much for that.
I'd just like to clarify for my notes, that was an objection, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Just wanted to check it was an abstention. They sound very similar.
I'll do a little bit better to enunciate. With that being said, next up is legislation, an act to prioritize student engagement. This is in its first reading. I'll go ahead and pull it up. Will, if you don't mind, do you want to take the lead on this?
And would you like me to?
Well, if you want to take the lead on this, you can.
All right, I'll get this one. So we're just doing first reading. This is basically, we're trying to get priority registration for AS because we've had issues getting students, especially our executives, to be in the committee meetings they need to be in. And this is kind of addressing that. It's us getting behind our support staff who are trying to get us this. So I'll do the first reading now. Whereas the AS, or Associate Students Board of Directors of Humboldt State University is the single recognized voice for over 6,300 students, and the mission of the Associate Students of Humboldt State University serves to assist in the protection of rights and interests of the individual student and the student body, and to stimulate the educational, social, physical, and cultural well-being of the university community. Whereas the Associate students are then also tasked with the responsibility to engage students, to understand and help interpret their voices so that they can use their power in the most efficient and effective way. And whereas the engagement of students comes in various forms, such as participation in campus clubs, attendance of club events, participation in sports, attendance in sports, participation in shared governance process of Humboldt State University, and attending all committees of said shared governance process. And whereas the Associate Students Board of Directors, like the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, are deliberating bodies that are essential to the shared governance process. Excuse me. Whereas the Student Athlete Advisory Committee is comprised of student athletes that have priority registration, as was granted to them since they meet the criteria under Category B of the registration policy and procedure for students that Humboldt State University has in place. And whereas this allows for the Student Athlete Advisory Committee to have priority registration, which grants each individual student with the benefits of planning accordingly for their individual sporting events. Why did we write this so long? And by we, I mean mostly just you. I just looked at it. Whereas the Associate Students of Humboldt State University is an essential part of the university's shared governance process, and it requires all student advocates involved in the board of directors to attend various university senate committees where it is critical for the student voice to be placed in each committee. And whereas the student advocate voice being present is dependent upon the class schedule of the individual person. And whereas the registration policy and procedure for students that Humboldt State University has in place states in Category C, students who would not otherwise achieve their academic goals within a reasonable period of time because they participate in an ongoing university-sanctioned activity that significantly benefits the university, see procedures, section A.3 for general eligibility criteria. The coordinator of the activity must apply for the Academic Policies Committee on behalf of the students for possible inclusion in Category C. Whereas the Associate Student Board Coordinator has submitted a request for priority registration for the Aes Board of Directors, and whereas if the Associate Student Board of Directors of Humboldt State University begins receiving priority registration, this would help the student directors better maintain their ex officio and appointed committee memberships as one of the main vehicles for the shared governance structure this campus strives for. Your action towards priority registration would help secure schedules that would allow directors to uphold their responsibilities and commitments. Additionally, campus would look forward to increased and more consistent student participation in campus decision-making processes. Therefore, be it resolved that the Associated Students of Humboldt State University move to officially support the priority registration of all student athletes and repeal the Aes resolution titled Opposition to Priority or a specialized registration for HSU student athletes. Furthermore, be it resolved that the Associated Students of Humboldt State University Board of Directors attend the next University Senate meeting, full attendance, to show support for our fellow student advocates and demonstrate through public comment what priority registration can do for the entire Board of Directors. Furthermore, be it resolved that copies of this resolution are sent to the, but not limited to the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, to the Office of the President, PhD Tom Jackson, to the Office of the Vice President of Enrollment Management, PhD Jason Merriweather, and to the Office of the Dean of Students, PhD Ebony Paternbo. See included references.
Thank you, Will. That was amazing. You are awesome. And I appreciate you taking the lead on that. So yeah, basically kind of to offer some background, the resolution really came out of the conversations about creating priority registration for us. But we noticed that honestly, that this board took action, well, not this board, but a board in the past took action basically saying that we don't want our student athletes to have priority registration. Something that this board has worked fiercely to work against, basically making sure that we can have more of a collaborative relationship with our student athletes in the creation of the Associated Residential Athletic Council. And so with that in mind, we, Will and I, went into this resolution writing, basically creating, making sure that student athletes are one, again, just making sure that that relationship was being repaired, but also to creating a space or creating a motivation for the board of directors to kind of go into our next Senate meeting to make sure we can honestly continue to press on with the work that has been started by our board coordinator, Casey Park, and myself and Will in some capacity to make sure that we are forming this united front for priority registration, because I think honestly when they hear us and they hear our stories and they hear how it can benefit us in so many different ways, I think, and how it can benefit just the campus as well, it is more likely to be done. So that's where this resolution came from. With that being said, I'll go ahead and open it up and ask for some questions, comments, concerns, screams of anguish. Amora?
I was wondering if we could also extend the application for them to apply and to register, as well as prioritizing their registration, so that because I know I talked to like new student athletes, they were freshmen, and one of the issues they were having was that because they were accepted into school late and because they didn't have priority registration, they were very late in terms of getting used to that. So that would be something that I would suggest, but I don't know the logistics of that or if it's even possible.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that question. I want to really take it back and try to figure out what I can do and what we as students can do on that one, and how we can, and if we want to press for something like that, how do we press forward? I think it's super important, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
You're welcome.
So next up is Carlos Sanchez.
First and foremost, I want to say that this is extremely very well written, and that I really think that this can do a lot for our organization. I also wanted to get clarification, sorry, on Representative Amora's, that freshman student athletes don't get priority registration.
I mean, I don't know the logistics, but what I was told was that the freshmen, they were accepted into Humboldt State University later because they applied later, and therefore, because of that and all the logistics around their sport engagement and their scholarship and all that, it made it so that they kind of applied to classes later than people.
Am I allowed to respond?
Yeah, it's discussion.
Yeah, so that is very interesting considering the fact that once we apply, usually when we apply because we are being recruited by a coach, and if we are not being recruited on a coach, then we are called a walk-on, and that is why students may not get that priority registration because the coach hasn't recruited them and they are not official members of the team. Therefore, they do not have the same benefits, but that can also be seen on accountability on that student. That student has to be getting in contact right away with the coach, has to get everything together. From what I heard, it seemed like scholarship paperwork was also a delay, which is also very interesting and concerning because scholarship paperwork usually comes after the student has already accepted Humboldt State, and the acceptance of attending to Humboldt State is left to the student's discretion. For example, in my experience, I didn't accept up until May, until I had secured benefits on the cross country and track and field team. And once I did, I was able to attend, and I was still able to register with everything. So I definitely, if you have those those individuals' contacts, I would love to get in contact with them and try to see how their process went. And if what happened was just that they did not hold themselves extremely accountable and were able to get themselves registered at the right time.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for offering some clarification. I really appreciate that point, so that way I don't have to necessarily follow up on that one. Also, so I see Gonzalez has his hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is the idea behind this resolution is a very good one with good intentions. However, I think we discussed before that this might create a problem, a potential problem, because if word gets out, which I'm sure it would, then there's going to be other programs that are going to want to have the same benefits, and there's clubs, there's fraternities and sororities that also spend time traveling, and so it gives them time away from their classes. And so the potential problem I see is that in the future, instead of being a benefit, it's going to be something that like half the students in the school have. And then, so it's not going to be priority anymore, but it's just going to be something normal. And then it's going to, if, for example, I wasn't in that half, and I don't know if it's going to be half the school, but if I was in like the later one, I would feel as if I was treated unequally for no reason.
Yeah, and so these are conversations that were had at during the APC, and basically, the response or the general response is trying to understand how do we balance this out to make sure people don't feel like they're being treated unequally. Also, too, I do want to refer back to the policy because the policy does say that ultimately it would come down to the APC's discretion. The APC does not necessarily need to release something pertaining to, the APC does not necessarily need to release anything unless, let me double check on this with you, Daniel, and then I'll get back to you, but thank you so much for that comment.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
Okay. What do you mean release what? Like the information that AS would get the benefit?
Yeah, so I didn't finish the comment because I'm not completely sure about that, so I didn't want to speak out of turn. But yeah, I'll double check and get back to you on that. But yeah, thank you so much for that comment, Daniel. That's thank you.
Could I add something?
We're good. Let's go. Okay. Yes, I forgot you're the co-author.
Also, one of the very important stipulations is that it has to be a part of basically our shared governance or something that is very beneficial to the university at large, including all the different areas. So that's where that kind of we fall in, but some other groups may not, which sounds not great, but it's true. And that's kind of the thing that they've been trying to even penalize us on, is the fact that they're like, oh, but not all of you are on University Senate, or not all of you are on the campus committee. Some of you are just AS, and you're only going to be benefiting AS, was one of the things they kind of hinted at. But overall, we are all very integral to the running of the university as it pertains to students, and we are the voice for them. We are the voice for students as they are existing on campus, and that is why we fall into this category and some others may not. So that's kind of what will keep us there, while clubs will not have that kind of thing, or whatever group will not.
Thank you, Will, for adding that on to us. Let's move over to SAVP.
Yeah, I was gonna say first and foremost that I thought this was, again, extremely well written. I think this is a conversation I've also been hearing for a really long time, so I'm excited to see it's on paper and it's being done, basically. I think that as a student voice, and for being able to speak on behalf of 6,500 students, in order to fully ensure that we are serving our students, we first and foremost have to be present. We have to be together. We have to ensure that we as a board of directors can sit in the same room and get things done, and that we can be there for our students. I am graduating this semester, and I had a difficult time making sure that my schedule was available for AS, and a lot of other seniors did as well. So I think it's extremely important that we advocate for ourselves. I think sometimes we lose that advocating for others, but we could really use this as an organization, and it could extremely benefit us in the long run. So I just advocate that all of my fellow board members also value and see the importance of this piece.
Thank you so much for that, Bree. I appreciate that comment of support. Let me look in the chat. I see somebody. Okay, so basically this is again up for its first reading. So no action can necessarily be taken on it right now. It was not submitted with a waiver. And yeah, if there is no more discussion on this item, I'll keep us moving on with the agenda. One hand raised from Maura.
Yeah, I just had a question, and I'm kind of confused because I'm having trouble seeing the connection between AS and athletics, and then that part about the meeting. I'm not sure if we're trying to better connect the board of directors with the student athletics committee. I forgot the name for AS. Or they're two different things on the same resolution. I'm confused about that portion.
Okay, I can offer some clarification. So basically, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee the relation I drew in the court in the resolution was ultimately that we're on, because what I'm trying to do is bring us back to like kind of equal footing. You know, like athletes are just as important. The Student Athlete Advisory Committee is just as important as AS is. And so we're trying to figure out ways to kind of to bring us back together. That's why the creation of the Associated Residential Athletic Council was formed, to kind of bring those relations back together. And so what I'm basically doing is saying, they're a deliberating body, we're a deliberating body, we both sit on IRA, they have priority registration, and we don't. It's like we should all have like this same we should have common language going if we have a deliberating body who has also priority registration, like and who is also essential to the campus. Well, they fall under a different category than we do, but I think it weakens our resolution. But I appreciate that comment, Amara. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, does board of directors get priority registration too? That's my last question.
So that's what we're fighting for. So that's what this resolution is for. We do not currently have priority registration. Okay. I saw a hand from Bree. I don't know.
I was just gonna say Casey put in the chat to speak. She just can't raise her hand on there.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Hey all. So just to maybe provide some extra clarification on kind of some dual processes that are happening for this intent. So this resolution Jeremiah and Will are putting forward it's one of its big purposes is to remove an old resolution that once a resolution or piece of legislation is in our books, like approved by a board of directors just like y'all, it's then on there for forever until somebody either removes it, amends it, or updates it. And so we have this resolution on the books currently saying that if you click into that link, the opposition to priority or specialized registration for HSU student athletes, it pretty much says like that AS opposes priority registration for anybody. Similarly to what Daniel and others have mentioned, that like everyone could make a case to want priority registration. One that sticks out to me in here is like student parents is also listed. But the resolution currently on your board table is to rescind this resolution because there is currently an application into the Academic Policies Committee to get this the board of directors going forward priority registration for all the good reasons listed by your fellows. So we have two dual processes going on. This resolution removing something on our own books, and then there's already an effort requesting priority registration from the Senate for this board.
Thank you, Casey, so much for bringing us back to that other piece about the resolution. You know, this resolution is also is aimed at making sure that we can just build up our bridges back again with our student athletes moving forward, because I think ultimately we should value them. We have shown that we value them in the past by creating the Ara Council, and so let's just honestly continue to value them and continue to put forth good faith efforts wherever we see we can. With that being said, though, I think it's appropriate to move on if there's no more public comment. Comment. Okay, seeing none. Next up is announcements. So if there's any announcements at this time, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Oh, Pao?
I just wanted to suggest this thing because I know like we're all just in this situation, but we should do like a spirit meeting, and then we have like a theme, like pajama day or just like any like little topics or sports, jerseys, just anything. If y'all are down, we can do that for the next meeting or even executive. Like, thank you, Bree, for the support. And then just like brainstorming, like what type of spirit weeks we can have. But let's make it fun. Thank you, Mayuli, too.
I think that's a great idea, Pao.
And so let's do that.
You want to do it next meeting, or do you want to do it like the last meeting, let's
do it next meeting. I'll like message the chat.
Okay.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you.
announcement.
Aldio?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody to fill out that Google Sheet that Casey sent out earlier this week, asking you to update your office hours and office hours information of like how you're holding them, if it's on Zoom or if it's something else. And the reason that I'm advocating for you guys to do it ASAP is because I'm working on filling one of your guys' requests to promote everybody's office hours on the AS social media platforms. And the way I'm doing that is by creating templates, and you'll see them. They'll hopefully roll out Monday. But the only way I can do that is to have everybody's information up to date. So yeah, just get on that.
Thank you. Also, too, I want to just double echo, say please fill out that form, because we do need it. It is super helpful in regards to office hours and things like that. Also, too, thank you all so much for holding office hours this week on Zoom. I've seen multiple people on their Instagrams posing and saying hello to everyone. Thank you all so much. I think it's super important to kind of keep that relationship built with our constituents, so that way we can keep continuing on having that relationship with them. If there's no more public comment, I'll go ahead and move on to adjournment.
Jeremiah, I'm so sorry. I just
Yes.
want to remind everybody that we started the meeting with an awesome public comment from Stephanie Lane. And so if you didn't get her number, please let me know. You can reach out to me or find her in the campus directory, also through her email. But you can reach her. She put her information in the chat as well. So just don't forget to think about those awesome collaborations for commencement this year.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, thank you all so much. With that being said, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 7:31.